Kathy Chambers. Welcome to Authentically Cyber. Cybersecurity is an awesome career, but it can also be a stressful one, and sometimes that stress can lead to burnout. Today I'm talking to Patterson Cake. Patterson has been in incident response now for a number of years. Now, if you're not familiar with IR, it is a very highly stressful role to go into.
This might just turn into a therapy session. I don't know.
So if you're in IR now or considering taking that path, what we're going to talk about today is some of the stress that comes with that and how that stress could lead to burnout if you are not careful. But we're not just going to talk about it. Patterson's going to give us some practical ways to deal with it. Let's go. Hey, Patterson, welcome to the show.
Howdy, Kathy. Happy to be here. I'm mostly just an excuse to hang out with you.
Oh, I tell you what, this is a good excuse to hang out with me. I mean, I must say, it's really cool to have you here. We used to kind of work together at Black Hills, so it's really nice to see you again. So thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
So today we're going to talk about how to have a long and healthy career in incident response while trying to manage the risk of burnout, which I will tell you, Patterson, is a super popular topic in cyber, unfortunately. So we're going to tackle that today. But before we dive in, can you just introduce yourself to the audience and talk to us about what you do as it relates to incident response?
Absolutely. My name is Patterson Cake. I'm not a pseudonym. I get that question a lot. And I am the director of incident response for Black Hills Information Security. So my primary day job is helping businesses respond to and recover from cybersecurity incidents, which is fun and amazing and stressful and awful and wonderful, all depending on the day. But obviously lots of potential for working too much because it's crisis intervention all the time. So this might just turn into a therapy session. I don't know.
That's why I'm here.
Because I certainly don't have all the answers, but it's definitely something I think important to consider about how, the impact of any job, I guess, truthfully, on your life, your health, your well-being, your family.
What is it about incident response that makes it so difficult or challenging?
For those who aren't familiar with IR, and that's a lot of people, reasonably so, I often use the analogy of like the fire department. Effectively, businesses call me and my team when the building is on fire, when they're in the midst of crisis. Often it's like the worst day of their professional lives, and they call and ask the incident response team for help. And so you can't very well say, well, can we talk about it next Tuesday? Or honestly, the standing joke is you will get that phone call at 4 p.m. on Friday. It's always 4 p.m. on Friday when you're planning on having a nice long weekend with your family or whatever. And again, because it's a crisis, it's not, it's life disrupting. It's definitely for the customer and probably for you. So I think that's the most challenging piece is it's urgency. It is absolutely the tyranny of the urgent, and so balancing your availability and your workload and your work-life balance, whatever that is pretty tough. Now, not all IR is that way. There's some proactive IR, there's some post-incident investigation, and so it's not always like that. But it definitely has a propensity to be just crisis all the time.
So while you were talking, I was like, Patterson, why would you choose that career?
Stupidity. Like, you don't know what you're doing when you get into it. You're like, the fact of the matter is, so this morning I've spent all day, I got up early because I'm in the middle of working a case, and I'm looking through a business email compromise case. And so threat actors broke into a mailbox. It's a the CFO for a company, and close to $1 million went out the door to a phony vendor. And so in the middle of all that, I'm digging through logs and I'm chasing down the threat actor and I'm looking for clues and I'm figuring out how they did it and the original phishing link. And while I'm doing it, I'm just so nerding out, and it's a blast. Like it's this technical riddle. It's super fun. And honestly, there's this cool piece about swooping in and being the hero and helping them, figure out what happened and respond and recover. And it's like that, you feel pretty good about that. And the work itself is amazing. Um, we were joking earlier before you hit record about, I'm actually 28 years old, kind of a thing that I think it's kind of for the young in some ways. Like if you have little kids and a family, this is probably not the perfect line of work for you. Maybe it is, but for me, yeah, it is definitely a challenge. Love the work, love working with people on that front. Figuring out how it destroys the rest of your existence is
What what does it take to be an incident responder on the
hmm.
crisis side? Like if you were to hire somebody to come in IR, what kind of traits would you be looking for?
That's a great question. I think that it does indeed, incident response does indeed sort of require like a personality. Like you have to be a little chill, but strike that right balance of, of caring and connectedness and, engagement. But the customer wants, right out of the gate, what the customer wants to hear from you is, it's okay. I know what to do now. And, calm and aplomb. And from there, the technical pieces are like largely they're fundamentals, things that every IT cyber person should know, the fundamentals of networking and endpoints and some security technologies. And if you got that combination and you're pretty good at dealing with people, then I'm definitely interested in working with folk like that. The people component, again, we were talking about this earlier, how critical the people component is. Well, every career, but in active IR, I mean, again, because of the intensity, the emotional intensity of working in crisis, you need to be a calming influence. You need to be good at empathizing with other people, and which is not always a characteristic of cybersecurity professionals.
So you have been in IT and cyber for a while, but incident response probably for like the past 10 years.
Yep.
What has changed in incident response when it comes to crisis
Hmm.
management? Do you feel more stressed out now than you did 10 years ago? And it's a serious question. Or do you
No.
think that has the intensity changed
Yeah.
now that there's new tools and faster tools and more attacks and more incidents? Like, has that changed your job at all?
Great. That's a great question. And truthfully, a lot has changed even in the last 2 or 3 years from an incident response perspective, and in some really positive ways. I think for my life and my sanity, to be frank, not that long ago, you know, not that long ago, the business was unfamiliar. The business was unfamiliar with this thing called ransomware, and they knew they were supposed to do backups, but they just didn't care that much, and they didn't want to spend extra money on next gen antivirus and things like that. And good news, now everybody knows what ransomware is. Yep, generally speaking, and everybody now knows you really better have good backups and some security capabilities. It's like that is your due diligence. And so a couple 3 years ago, you'd roll in and they didn't have that. And talk about a horrible crisis if you are in the midst of a cybersecurity incident and you don't have any data backups for the things that are most important to you. Again, talk about intensity. That's we may go out of business as a result of this. I'm happy to say that we're a lot better at that now. In general, we have backups, we have security solutions, we have EDR, endpoint detection and response, and a lot of what we do now is the customer has they caught it, they contained it, and now they're not sure what to do next, which is way less intense, really, than helping them actually put out the fire, so to speak. So yeah, I think we're headed in the right direction. There's this cool, weird new thing you may have heard of called AI, and we're all going, "What does this mean?" How is this going to impact active engagements? And the simple truth is, right now, I don't know. I don't know. We're not seeing huge impacts in active IR at the moment. We're seeing some impact, but it's not like earth shattering and life changing. And again, we probably should talk again in a month, and that'll be totally different. But
That's what I mean, that's a lot of my conversations I feel like I've had lately is like, "Hey, let's talk a month or 2 from
yeah,
now." and see if we still like kind of feel the same way about
Stay
AI.
tuned. Yeah,
Yeah,
stay
stay
tuned.
tuned. Stay tuned. Yeah, we were even I had Wade and Hayden on an AI show that I did
Oh, nice.
recently, and they were talking about training, developing training from a defensive SOC side of things. And
Yep.
I said, it takes a long time, and this, Patterson, it takes a really long time to put coursework together and to
Oh,
put
yeah.
training together, especially for conferences or whatnot. And so, literally, by the time you guys put this training together, you're just going to have to go back
Yeah.
and redo it. So I was like, I think you should hold off.
That is so true. Again, I was doing some training draft updates yesterday for a course that I have been doing monthly, and I have to revise it every single month. I mean, it's not. It used to be you could just kind of create it, and you could probably get by with 6 months, maybe even a little longer with minor tweaks. And now monthly is like I'm on Rev 5, and I've only done the class 3 times.
That's so funny because a lot of people are like, oh, it must be so fun to be an instructor. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
but because
yeah,
we all love teaching. Like, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be doing this podcast right
right.
now if there wasn't a side of us that really loved the teaching component. But I wouldn't say it's easy. I would say
Yeah.
it's definitely a lot of work. So, when it comes to incident response and the levels of intensity and such, what is it about that career in particular that leads to burnout? Like, you did talk about the crisis, but that's not every day or 24 hours a day. So,
Yeah.
what is it that would kind of put you over the edge?
I think that there are I think there are a couple critical components, maybe two or three critical components. One, first and foremost, when you start in IT and or cyber, it's like you understand that you're probably going to have to start at the help desk or as a SOC analyst, and you're going to have to go through this thing where you're in this unenviable position of being an on-call rotation, and that means for certain periods of your day, week, month, you need to be available 24/7, and nobody likes it, and everybody's trying to get out of that. And then you mature through help desk and SOC and cybersecurity engineer, and you land in IR, and you just start it all over again. Now you're on call 24/7, 365, especially if you're part of a smallish team, and that is stressful. Again, depending on how you're wired, I think some people deal with that better than others. But it legitimately means there are times in your life where you can't go camping with your family because you have no cell service. You can't have a beer at 5 p.m. on Friday because you may get a call, and that sort of low level, constant um, little bit of stress and little bit of impact on your life is rough. I'm not good at that, to be absolutely frank. It's like I still struggle with that after all these years of just relaxing because you're waiting for the phone, waiting for the vibration that you just got a Teams message. You're like, ugh. So that is challenging. The other one, which goes hand in glove, again as mentioned, is does that mean your weekend was just ruined? Um, and this is really important. Like if I have one sort of perspective on this, if you're going to go into IR, you need to understand the people that you're working for of like utmost importance. Do the people that you're working with and for understand that this can and will ruin your life if you let it? And that is hugely significant because you need to be able to say no sometimes. You need to be able to say, I am going on vacation, I'm going to the mountains with my family this weekend, and you will not be able to get a hold of me. And so that dynamic is hugely important from my perspective. You don't always know when you get a job or a gig, or often the employer says all the right things. You don't need to travel that much. You get to have weekends off, and then as soon as you start working there, it's like, well, um, uh, sorry, there's a fire. We're going to need you this weekend. Sorry, that was a rambling answer to a short question, but I think sort of that on call all the time, and a difficulty in saying it is actually a crisis. This is actually a crisis. One of the most memorable cases I ever worked was for a children's hospital. And legitimately, the threat actors were disrupting healthcare to needy children. Like, what are you going to say? Well, see you in a week. Uh, so yeah, that that's tough.
Yeah, that's an important point that you brought up, though, for people who are considering going into incident response, is ask the right questions during the interview process.
Yes.
And maybe
Yeah.
not even, and Patterson, I could be wrong, maybe not even the hiring manager, maybe somebody on the IR team, right? Who's there and who's been through it. Because the manager wants you. So
Yeah.
they're not gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, your life's gonna be hell for the next,
Yeah.
2 or 3 years." They're not gonna admit that. What kind of
Totally.
questions are good questions to ask someone if you're going in for an IR interview?
I think that's a great perspective, and yeah, I want to get as much information as possible in that sort of initial process. I think if you have the ability to talk to team members, that's a fantastic perspective. And you're not trying to get obviously the team members to sneak around behind the manager's back and tell you things, but I really want to know, how's your life, Kathy? If you're on the IR team, be honest, be real. What's your station in life, by the way? Married, kids. You love to travel. Yes, no. Where do you live? Getting a feel for. Some people love it. Some people want to travel 3 weeks out a month. Like, okay, not me. uh, and yeah, I think, and this probably goes without saying, but if the manager has been doing this for any length of time, has been managing cybersecurity and/or incident response, they should know. In fact, they should be in a position to be guarding your health and well-being. So I would hope again through those introductory conversations that you get a feel for that, and maybe you don't need an employment agreement necessarily that spells all out those things out, but I think it is important to hold that manager accountable. If they say to you, we're going to need you to travel up to 25%, and then they come to you every month and want you to travel 50%, that the onus is on you at that point, to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And or I can do it this month, but I'm going to need compensation next month, some time off or whatever. And just kind of working through that. I think largely it's up to you, truthfully, because I suspect the manager in most situations is smart enough to know that this is real. This is a real challenge
Yeah.
for IR.
So, not just in IR, but like cybersecurity in general, I think that when you go onto a team that's a smaller team, like automatically,
Mhm.
I feel like right there, that's a huge
Yep.
sign that's going to be more challenging. There
Yep.
aren't enough people to pass around the baton. Like you're just there by
For
yourself a lot.
sure. For
And
sure.
so, what should you be looking for as a team? Like, so if you're going and you're interviewing and you're like, okay, there's like me and two other people, I will definitely get burned out at this job for sure.
Yeah.
Or is it like the size of the organization? Probably.
I I don't know. I think, and I have asked this. I've been in interviews. I've been asked this, and I think it makes sense. Let's say, okay, let's talk about the size and scope of the team. Definitely, absolutely, 100% ask about the on-call rotation. What is expected of me, and be specific. Like 1 week a month, 2 weeks a month, whatever. Be as specific as you can. That's not something you want to be surprised by. And then talk to them about how many incidents have you had in the last 30 days, 90 days, whatever. And if they're not willing to have that kind of conversation, maybe you don't have that in the first interview or maybe even the second interview. But before you accept a job offer, I would sit down and say, I need to understand this. I want to be in this for the long haul. You want me to be in this for the long haul. Let's be real and talk about how many weekends have you worked in the last 6 months. And again, be as specific and pointed as you're comfortable being, so that you have a realistic perspective on that. And I think, irrespective of the size of the team, if they have 30 security engineers and all of those people are constantly on call because they have incidents all the time, it's like, bye.
Let's
Keep
talk about
looking.
Yeah, let's talk about the mental health aspects of all of it. Okay. I have a lot of questions regarding just this specific area.
Okay.
When do you know that you are reaching that point? Like, what are some
Mm,
signs that you've had, Patterson, that you're like, okay, I need to take a break? Like,
yeah.
because I think what happens is, and I come from a breaking news background where it's like this constantly. One of the reasons I got out is because it was literally changing who I was, like
Yeah.
how I reacted to things or how I felt on a daily basis. It was literally changing me. To me, that was like this huge red flag that maybe this isn't right for me anymore. It started off like, how you said we were joking about being younger. I loved it when I was younger.
Right.
Absolutely
Right.
loved it. Like I loved the thrill. I didn't mind the overnights. I worked holidays. Woohoo, let's go. But the older I got, the more I was like, no, this is changing who I am and this is not what I want to be.
Yep.
So, what are some of the signs when it comes to incident response that you're like, that's a huge sign that you need to at least just take a break? Maybe not get out, but just take a break.
Sure. Fantastic question. And I don't know how I would, well, I don't know how I would survive on many different fronts, but for this specific conversation, I don't know how I would survive without my wife, whom I trust implicitly, and her ability from the outside looking in. And it doesn't have to be your spouse, obviously. It could be anyone who cares about you and knows you and is like, wow, you seem stressed out. You seem uptight. You have not been yourself. For me, what it honestly usually is, you seem preoccupied. And what I do, and this is my fault, I take my work with me throughout the day, the evening. I'll be sitting at the breakfast table, drinking my coffee, thinking about the case I'm working on. My wife's like, "Where are you?" That is, you can't let it consume your life, and because it's this riddle, and because it's important, and because it's crisis driven, it's really easy to just let it infiltrate. And because you might work at home, uh, you know, getting a separation. So that outside perspective for me, someone that cares about you and knows you, and like, Kathy, you're not, you're not acting normal. You're not smiling as much. You seem a little stressed. You seem tired. That I think is hugely beneficial. On a personal level, uh, you know, the without my wife having to remind me, I begin to see my job impact other areas of my life, like things that I like to do, that I want to do, things that keep me in balance. We talked a little bit about health and fitness, and the minute I see my job eroding my ability to take a walk or go to the gym or take time to read a book or play a video game or hang with my kids or watch a movie or all of those things, that's when I get personally concerned. Like it is detracting from the things that are honestly that I require to be a whole and healthy human being. I mean, whole and healthy in general.
Yeah, yeah. So you did mention health and fitness. Is that one of the ways that you deal with? And maybe I mean, maybe you were in health and fitness like forever. I don't know. But is that like one of your getaways, I would say, for work?
Um, for me, working out, strength training is my mental and physical therapy. It is the greatest de-stressor for me, and that's kind of what I was alluding to. So fantastic segue. It's like if I'm working so much that I just don't have time, or I don't feel like going to the gym and getting away. I can't break away from the keyboard. Then that's like warning sign for me, because that uh, that is literally like mental therapy for me. It break away from what you're doing, do something physical instead of staring at zeros and ones all day every day. I don't. Uh, I was thinking about it earlier because I knew we were going to touch on this today. Like it to me, it's like a really positive addiction on one level. Like if I don't work out regularly, I feel lousy emotionally, mentally, physically. So I don't know. I sit at my desk most of the day. I stand at my desk part of the day. I think this is just not a good formula for me. And I have to make myself, I literally have to make myself get up off my butt, take a walk, go to the gym, or I'll just do this all day. And not good for me anyway. Maybe some people can do that, but can't handle
No,
it.
if you go to the doctor and you say like, "Hey, I've been," they say, "How have you been?" And I will say, like, "I've been very stressed out. I haven't been sleeping well." The first thing that they say, Patterson, is like, "Drink water and take walks, work out." Like those are like the first things, right? I will tell you that once I like dive into a project, it is very hard for me to leave.
Yep.
And my husband's like, "Are you done yet? Are you done
Yep.
yet?" Like peeking into the office, like,
Yep.
"Are you gonna wrap up? You gonna wrap up?" And it does take away from my health. I will be the first to admit it. Past 10 years have
Yep.
been awful for my health. So,
Yep.
what is your advice on the health front to get I don't want to say get motivated. That's really hard.
Yep.
Like, what is your advice to just get up? You said sometimes you have to give yourself pep talks to get out of the chair. Is that
Yep.
one of the ways that you get yourself motivated and out the door?
I yeah, I mean, getting started is the hardest part. I mean, maybe that's true of almost every sort of habit in your life. I think uh, I'm wearing a shirt today unintentionally that is Jocko
I'm
Willink
glad you're
discipline.
wearing a shirt today.
Discipline, yes, you're welcome. Discipline equals freedom. That's what my shirt says, and I wear that mostly to chastise myself, if I'm being honest. But the idea of discipline as freedom is that it set some goals. Even if it's legitimately, I'm going to get up twice a day and walk around the block, or I mean, just small, achievable, and I guarantee you that if you do those little things, you will immediately recognize the benefit. You're like, okay, I feel better, and then slowly amp up your goals, and then it becomes that positive, again, positive addiction, if you will. Like, I actually feel way better, and so I'm learning that if I get through the end of the day and I'm stressed and I'm digging deep and I'm a little challenged in a case or whatever, now my internal response is I should go for a walk. It will help. I'll feel better. I'll do my job better. I'll be less crabby with my wife. It's just like this, glorious synergy. And just start small. Just do something small. And I hugely agree with you. Being adequately hydrated and getting up and moving around, those are pretty low barrier to entry.
Mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
no, I just got literally so I drink a lot of caffeine. I'm gonna admit it,
yep.
right? And people know I do. I drink a lot of coffee, I drink a lot of Diet Coke. And that was the lecture that I just got yesterday from the doctor is that you've got to cut out the caffeine. Not so much because like caffeine's bad, but
Yeah.
water's good. She
Right.
kept stressing the water
Right.
is so good for you.
Yes. I'm going to drink my coffee, Kathy. Okay.
We
Yeah.
also chatted about before we hit record the importance of battling burnout and just kind of getting down with people,
Yeah.
right? We don't do a lot with people nowadays. You just got back from a conference recently. How
Yeah.
was that to get out of your office, get away from AI for a minute? For some people, right, a lot of their lives are in AI now, talking to agents instead of talking to humans. What's that like to be around people, and why do you think that's a good thing, especially for our industry?
I think uh, I think that it's really important, just fundamentally, as we talk about fitness and burnout and human interactions. First and foremost, I think it's really important for me to be intentional about all of those things. If I'm not intentional, then the days go wafting by, and I didn't work out, and I ate like junk, and I didn't talk to anybody, and it's like, and the human component is it's now a requirement for a lot of us to be intentional about it, or it just doesn't happen. And physiologically, scientifically, there is something very different about interacting electronically than there is about standing there and talking to someone. And obviously, don't want to get too nerdy on that front, but but hanging out with actual people, shaking hands, and sharing a laugh or a joke, etc., is just it's so good for your soul. I think you know, I think we have a tendency to like want to compartmentalize your brain and body and spirit and soul and all that, and I just don't buy that. I think you're a person, and so you eat well, you get a little exercise, you drink enough water, and you have some human interactions and a little purpose in your life. And by golly, that's a pretty good formula. And none of those things are complicated, but you
Yeah.
just got to get out and do it. And like going to the conference. Conferences are fantastic, by the way, because you instantly have something in common with people. You can always talk about your job and technology and immediately develop a rapport. Get out of your shell, get out of your office, get off Teams. uh, I think it's fantastic. And I joked with you beforehand that I complain about it, like I don't want to go to a conference and talk to people. And then I find myself, it's refreshing. It's like exercising on one level. It's like, oh, hey, this is actually pretty cool.
I like how you said be intentional about it, because since I started working from home, it hasn't been very long. I think I've only been working from home for like 2 or 3 years now. I have found, and I am a social person, like I love people.
Yep.
And I have found that that has kind of slowed down a little bit
Yeah.
because I'm not out there all the time now. So it's definitely changed me. Like working from home's definitely changed me.
Yeah.
And I was talking on the AI show the other day about how that human connection isn't there for a lot of people
Yeah.
because instead of calling your friend up and being like, "Hey, I got stuck on this project. What would you do?" They go to AI and they're like, "Hey, AI, I'm stuck on this
Yeah.
project." Like it has totally stopped us from talking to each other. And I think that leads to mental health challenges. I think that leads to depression. I think that anytime that you're just alone in your office all day, every day, like that can't be good for you.
100%.
Yeah, it cannot
100%.
be.
I've been reading multiple books lately on how your brain works and some of the components of societal interactions and et cetera, et cetera. And it kills me that you read these scientific tomes and they come out the other side basically saying what we're talking about right now is you need some sleep, you need to eat relatively reasonably, you get to exercise now and again, and you need people in your life. And if you don't have people in your life, you feel anxious, you feel angry, you feel lonely. I mean, look at our society today. It's like it's crazy how sort of discordant we are. And point in fact, we need each other. We need each other's company. We need each other's empathy. And it's like again, for cybersecurity nerds in particular, it's like do it, just do it. Get out of your office for a minute.
If somebody is listening to this right now, Patterson, and I don't want to use the words, it's too late, but they're already there. Okay. They're already burned out. They're already overwhelmed, stressed out, maybe not in IR, just in life in general.
Yeah.
What is something that they can do this week to get out of the funk?
Mm, great question. Quit your job. No, I'm just kidding. Uh,
Hey, that's what I did.
yeah. We can talk about that later. And you seem relatively
That's
happy,
another
so
podcast. That's another podcast, Patterson.
I uh, I think, as cliche as this sounds, it's like the first step is just being aware. Okay, wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm not where I want to be. This is not how I want to live my life. And then again, make some small adjustments. Take some time for yourself. Take Saturday off. Talk to your manager and let them know I'm stressed. I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. Could maybe I, get some extra time off or whatever. And again, just little incremental adjustments. And no joke, you know, drink some water. Move around a little bit. Again, find some time to do some things that you enjoy. Be intentional about talking to somebody about this. If there's anybody in your life that you know loves you and cares about you, sit them down and say, here's where I'm at. Tell me what you think. Give me your honest input. That might not be fun, but holy cow, that is so beneficial. A little bit outside, input. And then lastly, again, I keep giving you really long answers to short questions. If you're doing all this stuff, I think one of the most critical things you can do for your own mental health, your internal well-being, is to think about somebody else. Yeah, do something nice for somebody else. Find some purpose in your life, just on a small level of helping the neighbor take their trash out, or whatever. Any number of thousands of different things. To do something for somebody else is monumentally beneficial for you in whatever position you're in. And I'm done preaching.
No, that was my favorite one, the very last one. Save the best for last, for sure.
Nice. Nice.
Patterson, what is a way that people can connect with you or get a hold of you? Do you have anything coming up soon?
Oh boy, howdy. Yeah, I am. We joked about this earlier. Occasionally, more often than I would like to admit, I'm a hypocrite, and the last couple months of my life have been insanity, and so I'm really trying to not do a lot for the remainder of this year. You can find me, Patterson Cake obviously is not terribly difficult to discern on LinkedIn, for example. I go by Secure Cake for my GitHub repos and some of my socials, and which I'm not super active on, but GitHub for sure. So I love to connect with other people, with other professionals, and I mean this legitimately. Like if any of this resonates, or you have a question or a thought or even a constructive criticism, find me on LinkedIn. I would love to hear from you. And we're kind of in this thing together. and I think we should stick together. So yeah, that would be awesome. Always looking for new friends. And again, fortunately for me, I don't think I have any speaking engagements for a little while, which is uh,
Oh, that's plenty of time to connect with people on LinkedIn and answer all
heck
those.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
that's way more low key.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Patterson, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you spending some time with me today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me and putting up with my long-winded responses.
No, they were great. They were great. And to all of our viewers and to all of our listeners, thank you so much for being here. And I hope you guys have a great day. And I hope to see you on the next episode.